Welcome to our YouTube channel. In today's video, we will talk about science. Some branches of science, like we will talk about chemistry, physics, and in detail some topics that will be covered in different videos or in the coming videos as well. So first of all, I would like to talk about science. The word science is derived from Latin word scientia, which means knowledge. So in science, basically a person who studies science, we call it a scientist. He actually get the knowledge through observation, experiment. He has to just make his observation about a certain type of things or topics, and once he make observation, he go onward through some experiments, and once he do the experiments, he just confirm his observation, and he can just get some knowledge through these experiments. So we say the knowledge is actually a scientific knowledge. And a person who studies science is called a scientist. And mostly a person, we say a scientist, he used a scientific method to get into some knowledge. So now we know that the knowledge which we gain by observation and experiment, we call it a scientific knowledge. And there are various branches of science. So first of all, today I would like to talk about chemistry and physics. So we will cover some topics in chemistry and some topics in physics. Talking about chemistry, we talk about matter, we talk about energy, and we talk about matter, its properties, its compositions, its structure. And we are familiar with matter, that matter is actually anything which occupies space and has weight. So we call it matter, and that is mainly four major types: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. That is actually matter. So in chemistry, we discussed the properties of these things. So in this video, I would just like to talk about chemistry topics, that is acids and alkalis and salts. What is acid, what is alkali, and what is a salt? If we define acid, so acid is actually derived from a word acidus, which means sour, and it is also a Latin word. Acidus is a Latin word which means sour taste, and it is derived from the Latin word. And anything that is sour, like we test lemons, oranges, or any citrus fruits, when we test them, so we just feel some sourness. That sourness is because of acids. And if we go in a bit more detail, so the acids are also of two main types. The first one is the acid which is obtained from the living source, and the one that is called organic acid, and the one which is obtained from the non-living source, we call it inorganic acid. So here, if we talk about the sources of acid, so there are different sources of acid. Like in organic acid, we talk about tomatoes. So tomatoes has oxalic acids. All the tomatoes contain oxalic acid. If we talk about a living source, and we get an example of ants, so they contain formic acids, like honeybee sting, that is also formic acid. And if we talk about citrus fruits, they contain citric acid. Vinegar contain acetic acid. And if we talk about milk, so the milk contain lactic acid. So it's actually lactose, milk sugar, which later on turns into lactic acid. And in case of tomatoes, we can say the tomatoes contain oxalic acid. So these are some examples of acids from the living source. So if we talk about the non-living sources of the acids, so they are different. Like we say mineral acid. Mineral acids are those acids which are obtained from the non-living source, and we can talk about sulfuric acid, we can talk about nitric acid, hydrochloric acid, and even phosphoric acid. So these are the different acids which are obtained from the minerals, and we call it mineral acid or non-living source. They are obtained from the non-living source. Now, what is the definition of acid? How can we define an acid? Basically, when we talk about acid, so there are different definitions. The one which I'm here discussing here is that acid is a substance which produces hydrogen ions in aqueous solution. Now, there are some terms that are really to explain. First of all, we know about a solution. What is a solution? In explaining a solution, we should know about solute, solvent. What is a solute? Something that we are mixing in solvent. The compound of a solution is called solvent. Like we take salt, we take sugar, or anything that we are about to dissolve in the solvent, that is a solute. And the next thing that is a solvent, it is actually the substance which dissolve solute in it, in themselves. So we can call it solvent. So a solute and solvent combine to form a solution. So solution is a mixture of solute and solvent. So we can say it's a mixture of a homogeneous mixture of solute and solvent. So that's a solution. And the term homogeneous is already clear that it has uniform composition. Throughout the solution, it should have solute and solvent equally distributed. Like we take 1 spoon of sugar or salt and we are putting it in a glass of water or even beaker, so it will equally dissolve after some time. So we can say it's a aqueous solution. And the solution which is prepared in water, we can call it aqueous solution. So these are a little bit about solutions. Now we should know about the definition of acid. Acid is a substance which provides hydrogen ions in aqueous solution. So it means that when we put some amount of acid, so basically the acid is in liquid form, like we take 10 ml of liquid HCl, whether you are taking organic acid or inorganic acid and you are putting it in water, so you are actually dissolving the acid in water, and this is you are forming aqueous solution because it is being made in water or prepared in water. So acids, they will always provide hydrogen ions whether you are using organic acid or mineral acid. In both cases you will get hydrogen ions, and the presence of those hydrogen ions, which we will later on discuss in these videos, we will get the pH of acid from the range 0 to 7. The 7 is the neutral, so from 0 to 7 the pH which we get depending upon the concentrations of the acids, they are actually acidic solutions. So this is an acid that they will provide hydrogen ions, and the proof the presence of hydrogen ions can be studied and checked through pH meter or even litmus paper. We can do litmus tests for those solutions. The other thing that should be discussed or very important to discuss in these topics of chemistry, where we are talking about acid, alkalis and salt. So the second one is alkalis. Alkalis are the substances which provide OH ions in aqueous solution. And actually the alkali is derived from Arabic word alkali, and its meaning is a bit different. That is some burning when we burn something, like we burn leaves or wood and it just turns into ashes. So that ashes are actually dissolved in water, and they will just give the symptoms of the signs of a basic or alkaline solution. So alkalis are like we talk about sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is an alkali. When we dissolve NaOH, the chemical formula for sodium hydroxide, in water, so they will provide OH ions, and the OH ions are actually hydroxyl ions. So we discussed about acids and alkalis and its definitions in this video.